Okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وأصلي وأسلم على من بعث رحمة للعالمين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وبعد. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, brothers and sisters, and welcome to part 13 of our juz by juz summary and synopsis of the Qur'an, where we go through the Qur'an juz by juz and we cover all of the things that we are going to find therein in summary, so not in any great detail, but touch upon the most important aspects, inshallah, and try to shed some light and give you guys a working roadmap with regards to how the Qur'an is put together, inshallah ta'ala. So this is part number 13, and in this part we're going to cover the rest of Surah Yusuf, where we covered a small portion of it yesterday, and we are also going to cover Surah Ra'd and Surah Ibrahim in their entirety, inshallah ta'ala. So this is part number 13. Now, we're not going to start right at the beginning of part number 13. We're going to track back just a little bit, as we didn't cover all of the story of Yusuf alayhi salam up until where part 13 starts from. But what we did mention yesterday about Surah Yusuf was that it was revealed in the year of sadness, in the year of sorrow, which is Am al-Huzn. And in that year, the Prophet ﷺ's uncle died and his wife died, and he was also pelted with stones in Ta'if when he went to give them the call to Islam. And it was a very, very difficult time, a very bleak time, not a lot of hope that he could see there, and the persecution, the insolence, and the disobedience of the Meccans was getting worse and worse and worse, and it wasn't relenting. And so here we have the Prophet ﷺ with no aid and no barrier and no stop between him and the people who want to persecute him. And there are now rumors of either kicking the Prophet ﷺ out of Mecca or killing him and being done with him forever. So this is a really troubling time for the Prophet ﷺ, and this is when Surah Yusuf comes down. We covered the first part of the story, which was when Yusuf alayhi salam, he saw the dream, and he saw in that dream that he saw stars and the sun and the moon, and they were prostrating to him. And his father told him to keep that dream silent or quiet and don't let his brothers know. فَيَكِيدُوا لَكَ كَيْدًا, otherwise they will plan and plot against you. So he recognized, as a father, as a parent, he recognized the ailments of his own children, and he recognized the relationship between them, and he knew his responsibility as a father to try and keep the peace between everybody, and try to encourage and sort of promote the positive facets of their character as opposed to the negative ones. And then obviously what happened was they didn't even need to know the content of the dream. They already had such envy and jealousy of their brother because of their love for their father. They wanted their father to love them just as much as they loved Yusuf and his brother Benjamin, or if not more. And so they planned and plotted against Yusuf in order for them to receive exclusively the love of their father. And so they got their act together and they went and they threw him down a well, and they pretended that he had been eaten by a wolf. And then a caravan came to pick up some water from this well, and out popped Yusuf. And so the brothers, they sold him on in slavery and bondage until he found his way to the house of Aziz. Al-Aziz was the chief minister in Egypt. And he was very close to the king and a very rich man. And he took Yusuf in, and he loved Yusuf, and he wished to adopt him as a son because of what he saw in him in terms of his good character, obviously his beauty. And he told his wife, Akrimi Mathwa, that look after him while he is out doing his business in the kingdom. So that's where I think we stopped, I believe. Yes, I think that is where we stopped. وَلَمَّا بَلَغَ أَشُدَّهُ وَآتَيْنَهُ حُكْمًا وَعِلْمًا كَذَلِكَ نَجْزِي الْمُحْسِنِينَ. So the story goes on from there, and verse number 22, it's almost like a cutscene, or like, you have in films where, the guy's a kid, something happens to him as a kid, and then time goes by in the film, but the film doesn't show you all the time that goes by. It's sort of like the sun rises and then it sets, and then like a day's gone past, or a year's gone past, or 2 years have gone past, and then suddenly, the guy's a young man, a young strapping man, which is exactly what's happening here. So we fast forward in the story to Yusuf alayhi salam, who is now from a child, stuck down a well, and being bought and sold in slavery, to now a young, strapping man in the prime of his youth, who is a wonder to behold, mashallah. So he is now in the house of Al-Aziz, and Al-Aziz has a wife who is of a good stature and good standing, but she is somewhat neglected, if you like, right? Because Aziz is always busy outside doing his thing, and he's never really around, and she's kind of just at home on her own, and she has servants around her, but she has this young, handsome, extraordinarily beautiful, but well-mannered, very sort of a well-rounded individual, very well spoken, very polite and respectful, has everything that is desired in a man with her at all times, at her beck and call. So she's amazed by Yusuf's character, and she ends up falling for Yusuf. She has feelings for him. And unfortunately, these feelings, they grow and grow and grow inside of her until they get so violent that she wishes to act on those very feelings. And subhanAllah, if she wasn't to act on those feelings, none of this story would need to have been told. But because she made that conscious decision to translate what was in her mind and in her heart to her actions and her limbs, then it became something that was worth talking about. SubhanAllah. Okay, so we pick up the story. وراودته التي هو في بيتها عن نفسه وغلقت الأبواب وقالت هيت لك. So here it is in the story. Yusuf alayhi salam is in this house, and he's young now. He's much older. He's a lot more responsible, and mashallah, he has everything that any woman wants in a man. This woman now is calling Yusuf towards him, telling him هيت لك. And هيت لك means come, take me, I'm yours, right? Let's do this, let's get it on. And she had closed all the doors in the house. And it's not like, nowadays you have doors where like there's locks and there's keys and there's all sorts, right? And there's a security system or anything like that. It was very basic. There was a latch on the door and you close it and you close that latch on it. So it's not like, it's unbreakable, it's impenetrable, nobody can get in. It just means that she was so cautious. وَغَلَّقَتِ الْأَبْوَابِ. So it wasn't just one door that she locked. It was a number of doors, even though they were perhaps only in one room and there was only one way to enter into that room, right? Or it could mean that one door that was the entry point into that room, she locked it again and again and again with a number of things. She locked it with the lock. She had like a chain on it as well. And she put a chair in front of it and so on and so forth. All of those things. But in any case, whatever the case may be, she went the extra mile in order to make sure that what she was about to do and what she was about to act on was not seen by anybody. So Yusuf's initial reaction, right, in that situation is ma'adallah. Seek refuge in Allah. Now, unfortunately, right, this is something that is only pertinent to Yusuf alayhi salam. Ever since this happened, there is nobody on this earth that is ever going to be in that situation where a woman who is beautiful and has status in society calling a man who is also, mashallah, not bad himself, in that situation alone when nobody can see them and they can get away with it, right? That is not a place where anybody can say that except a Nabi. So قال معاذ الله إنه ربي أحسن مثواي إنه لا يفلح الظالمون. Verily, my master, aka Al-Aziz, he's been so good to me, how can I betray him behind his back? The honor that Yusuf alayhi salam is showing to the one who has been so good to him all of these years. All right, then the next ayah, in ayah number 24, وَلَقَدْ هَمَّتْ بِهِ وَهَمَّ بِهَا لَوْلَا أَن رَأَىٰ بُرْهَانَ رَبِّهِ. There's a lot of debate about this, right, amongst the scholarly class and even in general, right, about whether Yusuf alayhi salam, he actually wanted her just like she wanted him, right? وَلَقَدْ هَمَّتْ بِهِ, so she wanted him. وَهَمَّ بِهَا لَوْلَا أَن رَأَىٰ بُرْهَانَ رَبِّهِ. And he also, هَمَّ بِهَا, he also was inclined towards her. He wanted her as well, right? Because it's the same words. هَمَّتْ بِهِ وَهَمَّ بِهَا. Right? So is it the same thing? Right? And if it is, then Yusuf alayhi salam, he's a prophet, and how can a prophet do something like this? Right? So a question arises there. So we have to remember that this hamma biha is a full sentence, right? So hamma biha lawla ar-ra'a burhana rabbi. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showed Yusuf alayhi salam what would have happened had he had done what he had done. Or he had recognized in him, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had revealed in him the recognition of zina, committing zina being a huge sin, one of the greatest of all sins that a person can commit. And when he recognized that from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed it to him, that is what stayed him, right? Another way of looking at it is that Yusuf alayhi salam is a human being, right? And what happened was, just like it happens in every human being, Yusuf alayhi salam, he also found her to be attractive, which is totally okay, right? It's totally okay to look at a woman and think, she's quite beautiful, mashallah. And it's totally okay for a man for a woman to see a man and say, you know what, he's really handsome, mashallah. There is nothing wrong with that. The wrong part about it is actually doing something about it, right? Now, she crossed that line and Yusuf alayhi salam didn't cross that line, right? Both of them human, both of them having those feelings in them. Okay, so لولا أن رأى برهان ربه, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saved him from that. كذلك لنصرف عنه السوء والفحشاء, and this is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala stops them from falling into it, by them recognizing the sin for what it is, and recognizing the recompense for that, and the hisab, the accountability for that with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. إنه من عبادنا المخلصين, verily he was from the most sincere of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's worshippers. Now, when you are in that position, right, when you're in a position of being able to commit a sin and be able to get away with it, obviously it depends on that sin, on what you're going to get away with, but it's very difficult for you yourself to be self-disciplined and stop yourself from doing that. And it requires a great amount and a heightened sense of awareness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a greater connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that even when you're on your own and you have the ability to take some money and nobody's going to know about it, you have the ability to pretend that you've done something and no one can say otherwise, but they'll praise you for doing it, right? When you have the ability to do that and you don't do that, that is from your taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is from the iman that you have in your heart. And depending on how much you have, the more protected that you will be, even if you are on your own. And it shows you, right, that there's one thing about having a blame society, right? So there's certain things that we don't do because people will blame us and people will point fingers at us and people will have a bad opinion of us. And that's what stops us from doing certain things, right? So we don't swear in public. We don't steal things in front of everybody's eyes, right? We don't do certain things when people are watching us because we recognize that, that blame system, right? But the next level above that is the self-shame that you have, the self-blame that you have in your own self. So there's one thing people shaming you, but it's another thing totally that you yourself blame yourself for doing something like that. That means that even if no one can see you and you're left with £1 million, you're not going to steal a single penny, right? And that's what it means to be al-amin. And that's what the Prophet ﷺ was. He was as-sadiq al-amin. He was the truthful and he was the trustworthy. And here we are with Yusuf alayhi salam, also trustworthy. And then the whole thing about wastabaq al-bab, they both went towards the door. Yusuf alayhi salam wanted to escape and she wanted to catch him. And so his shirt was ripped from the back. And lo and behold, when they were going for the door, it's almost like Aziz comes, right? And he opens the door and he sees them both in that situation. Subhanallah. And the first thing that he does is he's like, oh no. And the first thing that she does is run towards Al-Aziz and say, oh my God, look what he's doing to me. Isn't his only recompense should be that he should go to prison for doing what he's doing, right? Meaning that, look, he's trying to rape me. He's trying to come on to me and I'm your wife and he's doing it behind your back and how dare he? But Aziz, he knows the character of Yusuf. So he stands there first in shock, but he doesn't make a judgment call. He's just looking, what is going on, right? But that's because he knows the character of Yusuf alayhi salam, and he knows that my wife, right? Nobody knows their spouse better than their spouse, right? So he knows, okay, something's amiss here. So immediately Yusuf says, when she says that, look what he's doing to me, and he deserves to go to prison. That look, hiya rawadatni an nafsi, that she's the one who came on to me. And Yusuf alayhi salam would never have said this to Al-Aziz because of the respect and the awe that he had for Al-Aziz. But he said this because she pointed the finger at him and wrongfully accused him. And he didn't want Aziz to think of him like that. No, this is not the truth. And then shahida shahidun min ahliha, and there was a witness at the time. And it's said in the traditions that it was a small baby in the cradle that she didn't think anything of, right? So when they were in that place together, there was this small child there, but because the child was just a small child, what's the child going to know what's happening, right? It's a little baby, right, in the cradle. So she did it anyway. But that, that child spoke. in the cradle. Now, here's a little trivia for you guys, right? Who can tell me? There are, I think, three. There are three babies that spoke in the cradle. This is one of them, right? In Yusuf alayhi salam's story. Who are the other two? Let me know in the comment section, inshallah. Okay. So this child is saying, look, if Yusuf alayhi salam's shirt is ripped from the front, that means he is guilty of what she said, because he is coming on to her. She is defending herself, and so she's ripped his shirt from the front. But if it's ripped from the back, that means he is running away and he is innocent, and she is the guilty party because she is chasing after him and ripping him from the back. And so it was that it was ripped from the back when Aziz saw it. فلما رأى قميصه قد قد من دبر قال إنه من كيدكن إن كيدكن عظيم. And when he saw that his shirt was ripped from the back, he said that this is a plot of yours, aka of his wife and the women folk in general of that time. Inna kaydakunna azim, verily your plots and your plans are great indeed. And it said that he said this to himself. This was like in itself, he's like, oh my days, this is real, to himself. Or he said it to her and to everybody that was there at the time. We have to, I'll mention that later actually. So his immediate reaction, right, is Yusuf a'rid an hadha. Yusuf, don't worry about this, isn't it? Right? It's almost like he's brushing it under the carpet. You know, there's nothing wrong here. It's okay, right? Let's just forget about what's going on here. And he turns to her and he says to her, "Wastaghfiri li dhanbik," and seek forgiveness for what you have done, right? And that either means that seek forgiveness from Allah, or seek forgiveness from myself, and you have to be sorry about what you've done, or to Yusuf alayhi salam. Innaki kunti min al-khati'in, verily you are from those who have done wrong. So it's almost like he brushed it under the carpet, right? There's no recompense. There's nothing, right? There's nothing that's happened. He's just sort of like, Yusuf, don't worry about it. You say sorry, and that's it. So he's kind of brushed it under the carpet. It's all like, you know, at home and stuff, no problems. So, and the problem with that though is that this issue persists. So this has happened, right? He hasn't dealt with the issue, so it's escalated and gone further. وقال نسوة في المدينة امرأة العزيز تراود فتاها. And then now this bit of information has gone throughout the city now. All of the women folk are talking about Imra'atul Aziz, the wife of Al-Aziz. She's done this with her servant boy, and look what she's doing. And they're just pointing the finger. Oh my God, look what she's doing, yada, yada, yada. And we, if we're, you know, on the outside looking in, we will be in the same position. If we hear in our town, in the town of Finchley, little old Finchley here in North London, that someone has done something like this, we're like, astaghfirullah, this woman, man, a'udhu billah, how dare she do this, right? And we'll point the fingers and we'll do the blame game and stuff like that. But guys, this is, firstly, it's not your problem, so stay out of it, right? Secondly, you guys are probably doing ghiba and namima and saying things about the wife of Al-Aziz and Al-Aziz himself, and probably about Yusuf as well. That, you know, he's like, you know, young, you know, he's got the fire in him and stuff like that. It's never any good to talk about these sorts of things. But anyway, this is what's going on in the city. So what she does is she hears about all of this stuff, right? She hears about what's going on. Oh, sorry, before I go on, right? They say about it, قَدْ شَغَفَهَا حُبًّا, right? Love for this boy has entered into the coverings of her heart. So the heart has like a covering, so they say. And within that covering, this love of hers for this man has gone within that. So it's deeply rooted in her heart. This girl, this woman, she loves this guy. That's what they're saying about her, right? And we'll find out whether she truly loves him or was it just lust. That's a big question, right? Does she lust after this guy, or does she actually love him? So when she hears about all of this stuff, she invites all of the women to her house, right? And she gets you know, a hall ready for them, a room ready for them. They're all sitting down on like comfortable comfortable cushions, and they've got food out laid for them and stuff like that. And she gives them all a knife, right? Each one of them has a knife on their table, right? Very strange thing to give, but still she gives it to them. And it could be for cutting, like in some traditions that they're cutting fruit. In some traditions, she uses it for, they use it for the food that's in front of them. But in some traditions, she just gives it to them, each of them, right? Specifically, here's a knife, take a knife. Each one of you has a knife in your hand, right? وَقَالَتْ اخْرُجْ عَلَيْهِنَّ, and she tells Yusuf to come out, Right? As soon as they're all sitting down and they're relaxed and like, oh, this is exciting, right? And they take the knife, Yusuf comes out. فَلَمَّا رَأَيْنَهُ أَكْبَرْنَهُ وَقَطَّعْنَا أَيْدِيَهُنْ. So as soon as they see him, they're like, أكبرنا. And akbarna, it comes from the word akbar, right? We say Allahu Akbar, takbir. You say Allahu Akbar, that's when you're shocked about something, right? So when they saw him, they're like, oh my, right? Absolute shock and awe as to what they're seeing, right? وَقَطَّعْنَا أَيْدِيَهُنْ, and they cut their hands, right? And now this seems like really weird. If you go by the traditions that they were cutting fruit and stuff, okay, that's fine. But the Quran doesn't talk about like, fruit cutting or anything like that. So let's just assume that there is no fruit involved and they just have knives in their hands and they go and stab their hand or they cut their hand. A bit of a strange, like, how does that go? But like, I was thinking about this a lot and I've been thinking about it over a long period of time. And there was one period, or there was one event that happened, and I think it was on some talk show that was going on. And there was a celebrity that came on. I think it might have been Justin Bieber or something like that. And they had loads of fans outside of the studio, and they showed a clip of the fans outside of the studio and then Justin Bieber talking to them. And these, like, all of the girls there were just, they started screaming and going hysterical, and just by seeing his face and hearing his voice, and I was just like, what the hell? I know it's strange, right? But after seeing that and seeing the hysteria, and they were like literally putting their hair out and like screaming and slapping their faces, and they were getting red in the face. Absolute like outrageous reactions for just a small kid who just can sing. That's about it, right? But for a reaction like that, and that got me thinking about Yusuf alayhi salam, and when he came out and the hysteria that they must have felt, right? And what the wife of Aziz wanted to do was she wanted to show that she had a basis for that love and that want for Yusuf, that it wasn't just baseless, like she was bored at home, a housewife left at home and she wants to sort of entertain herself. And she wanted proof of their feelings or their emotions and their reaction towards Yusuf. So it's one thing, like, you looking at something and having a reaction towards it, but being able to hide that reaction, right? Because it's an emotion and emotions are inside. And nobody can see that emotion unless it comes out on your tongue or comes out on your face or comes out in your body language. But here they have a knife in their hand. So when they cut themselves, right, out of shock and like, oh, hysteria or whatever, that means this cut is there. This is a proof that, look, I'm not crazy. And they say, Inna hadha illa malakun kareem. This is only an angel, man. This can't be ma hadha basharan. It can't be a man. This is not a man. This is an angel. So, and then she says that, look, if he doesn't do what I tell him to do, then he is going to go into prison and he's going to be disgraced. And she obviously now he's like in front of 50 women, right? All have knives in their hands. And the wife of Aziz is telling him, come, do what I tell you to do. Obviously, man in that position, even if he does have the strength of Yusuf, when he sees the knives, he might think twice. But Yusuf alayhi salam, in his resolve, mashallah, Rabbi sijnu ahabbu ilayya mimma yad'unani ilay. That prison is much more beloved to me than what they ask of me. وَإِلَّا تَصْرِفْ عَنِّي كَيْدَهُنَّ أَصْبُ إِلَيْهِنَّ وَأَكُمْ مِنَ الْجَاهِلِينَ. And if you do not help me, then I will be inclined towards them, either for saving my life because they're going to stab me to death, or because how long can this go on for? فَاسْتَجَابَ لَهُ رَبُّهُ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he responded to his du'as, and he was in prison, and there he stayed for a very, very long time. While he was in prison, he met two people. He had two inmates. And they both asked him, and they recognized that he was a righteous man. And when you spend some time with an individual, you recognize their qualities and their skills and what they are able to do and what they're not able to do, and so on and so forth. So they recognized in Yusuf that he was a pious man, a righteous man who remembered Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala much, and he himself had certain skills. So they wanted to ask him about certain dreams that they both had had. So one of them had a dream that he was squeezing fruit to make wine. Another saw that he had a basket of bread on his head where birds were eating from. And so each one of them asked him, what is the meaning of these dreams? What do they mean? Are they of any significance? So Yusuf alayhi salam, obviously he knows the answer and he could tell them straight away. But what does he do? In verse number 37, قال لا يأتيكما طعام ترزقانه إلا نبأتكما بتأويله قبل أن يأتيكما. That I can tell you the meanings of these dreams before food is coming to you. So the food, it was around lunchtime or whatever, the food was supposed to come to them. Before this food comes to you, I can tell you the meaning of those dreams. But he doesn't actually tell them the meaning of the dreams until verse number 41. So 3 or 4 verses, 4 or 5 verses go by without him actually telling them the dream. But what he does go on to speak to them about is worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in his oneness, tawheed, being sincere, that all of these other gods that they have put besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and these rules and laws that come from these polytheistic beliefs, they have no standing whatsoever, and they are built on oppression and so on and so forth, right? And he's telling more of this stuff, and all they've asked him about is a dream. The reason why he does that is because when someone asks you a question, right, and they want to know the answer to it, they are willing to hear what you have to say. So if you mention other things that are more pertinent to what they are asking, then they will listen to that and take that on board, right? So a lot of hikmah here in the da'wah of Yusuf alayhi salam. Anyway, so he goes on to tell them that the one who sees that he's squeezing out wine, he is going to be pouring drinks for his master. So he's going to be set free. And the other one is going to be killed because birds are going to eat from his head after he is crucified and dies. So he goes on to say to, he goes on to say to the one who he thinks he's going to be free, that look, when you are free, tell your master about me. Tell your master about me, that I'm here and, get me out basically. But Shaitan caused this man to forget. And so he stayed in prison bid'a sinin for a very long time. Bid'a sinin, the word bid'a is anywhere between 3 to 9 years. And it's said that he stayed in for another 7 years, according to traditions. Fast forward those 7 years, the king now sees a dream. And in his dream, he sees that there are fat cows coming out of a dried up lake. And there are 7 of those fat cows coming out of this dried up lake. And there are 7 skinny cows that are coming towards them. And the 7 skinny cows, they devour the fat cows. And he also sees 7 what are they called? Type of crops with the ears, right? So they have all the seedlings on their ears. You know how like wheat and barley, yeah, and corn and stuff. They have the stem and then they have the ear of the actual plant. So he sees 7 of those with the ears all ripe and green. And he sees 7 others that are empty of the seeds, right? So they don't have any seeds in them. And the 7 empty ones, they devour and take over the 7 ears that are full of seeds, right? So that's what he sees in his dream. And he asks his people, what's it called? Aftuni fi ru'yaya in kuntum lirru'ya ta'burun, right? So tell me, what does this dream mean if you guys know what these dreams actually mean? So they say to him, قالوا أضغاث وأحلام, these are just like fairy stories, this meaningless dreams, and we don't really know how to interpret dreams anyway, so don't watch. So the guy who was in prison with Yusuf alayhi salam just happened to be in the court of the king at the time when this was going on. And he said, you know what, I remember a guy who can interpret dreams. Send me, O king, to this man, and I will bring you news of what your dream means. So he sends him. And he arrives in the prison and he says, Yusufu ayyuha siddiq, right? Okay, so when someone's asked you to do something, right, and you haven't done it and time goes by and you haven't met that person and you've never bumped into them and you haven't spoken to them, but now you're going to see them and you feel really guilty that you're going to see this person, right? So he goes up to him and he says, Yusuf ayyuha siddiq, meaning Yusuf, O truthful one. And he means that obviously first, look, no hard feelings. I know I forgot, but I'm really sorry about that. But also notice what the one sort of characteristic that he named him by was the truthful, right? The one who has truth in him and the one who readily accepts the truth, right? Yusuf ayyuha siddiq, subhanallah. And this was also the characteristic of Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala. So he tells him the dream, and Yusuf tells him, doesn't tell him the meaning of the dream, right? So he tells him the dream, okay, this is what the king has seen. What does it mean? Oh, sorry, no. Yeah, he does tell him the dream. That comes later. He tells him the meaning of the dream. So the meaning of the dream is basically this, that you guys are going to have 7 years of good harvest. It's going to yield its crops, right? And when you harvest, though, you are not going to take the seedlings out of the ear of the actual crops. So you cut the crops down, but you leave the crops as they are. So you don't take the seeds out, because if you take the seeds out, then the seeds end up drying out. So what you do is, if you keep them on the ear, they stay fresh, and they'll stay fresh for many years, right? So he's giving them tips, right? Economic tips about how to save their wealth. And then after that, after those 7 years, there'll be 7 hard years of drought where no crops will grow, right? But you will use the ears of the crops that you have saved during those 7 years, and that will get you through. And then after that will come a year where everybody will, the crops will be abundant, and you guys will ya'surun, squeeze out wine and oils and all sorts. You'll have all the necessities and all the commodities as well. So so the guy comes back and he tells the king, this is what your dream means, and he's amazed by it. He's like, whoa, I would never have got this. Who is this guy? Send him to me. So he goes and sends for Yusuf alayhi salam, but Yusuf says, I'm not coming. No. Go tell the king, go ask the king, right? فَاسْأَلْهُ مَا بَالُ النِّسْوَةِ الَّتِي قَطَّعْنَ أَيْدِيَهُنَّ, and ask him, what happened to those women who cut their hands? Inna Rabbi bikaydihinna alim. My Lord, or my master, Aziz, he knows what's going on. Right, so he's going to get me free, inshallah. قال ما خطبكن إذ راوتن يوسف عن نفسه قلنا حاشا لله ما علمنا عليه من سوء. So he goes and asks all of the women. So he gathers all of the women together, and all of the women who were in the court, in the house of the wife of Aziz when they cut their hands together, right? And notice how Yusuf alayhi salam, he doesn't mention, ask the wife of Aziz what happened, right? Because obviously he still respects and loves Aziz for the goodness that he had showed him all those years, subhanallah. So he doesn't want to expose his wife to the caprice of his society. But when this is going on, right? So the women are like, no, Yusuf's a good guy. We don't know of him, any problems and any wrongdoings and stuff like that, because obviously they want to free, they want to make sure that they're free of any finger pointing. So in this position, the wife of Aziz, she says to herself, Al-ana hashas al-haq. Verily, the time for the truth has come. Ana rawattuhu an nafsihi wa innahu lamina as-sadiqin. Verily, so she says that to herself, time for the truth has come. And she stands up in the court and says, no, it was actually me who came on to him, and he did nothing wrong. He verily was telling the truth. Then she says again to herself, ذَلِكَ لِيَعْلَمَ أَنِّي لَمْ أَخُنْهُ بِالْغَيْبِ وَأَنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَهْدِي كَيْدَ الْخَائِنِينَ. Verily, I only say that so that he knows, Yusuf knows, that I didn't disgrace him, I didn't stab him in the back when he's not around. لَمْ أَخُنْهُ بِالْغَيْبِ وَأَنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَهْدِي كَيْدَ الْخَائِنِينَ, and that there is no success with Allah for the one who is treacherous to others, right? Which kind of shows you that the wife of Aziz, she could have done it for many reasons, right? And she could have stayed silent and perhaps gotten away with it, or people could have pointed the finger or whatever. But her saying that I didn't wish Yusuf alayhi salam to know that I had been treacherous towards him behind his back, shows that her affections were more than just lustful, right? It was solid. وَمَا أُبَرِّئُ نَفْسِي إِنَّ النَّفْسَ لَأَمَّارَةٌ بِالسُّوءِ إِلَّا مَا رَحِمَ رَبِّي. And I'm not trying to free myself or make any excuses for myself. I'm not free from blame. Verily, the nafs, the self, is forever inclined towards evil. Inna Rabbi ghafurur rahim. Verily, my Lord is all forgiving and most merciful. So then the king calls Yusuf alayhi salam, and Yusuf comes and he says, look, astakhlisu li nafsi. He's going to be my personal aid and my personal counsel. قال جعلني على خزائن الأرض إني حفيظ عليم. But Yusuf alayhi salam, he says, no, make me from the one who is in charge of the treasury, right? So it's not enough that I'm going to be close to you. just your aid and your personal counsel. Rather, I have spent so many years in prison wrongly. I need to be sort of in a higher position. One, that's one reason. Secondly, because Yusuf alayhi salam, he knows what's going to happen based on his dreams. And he sees that no one else is going to be competent and capable enough to handle the difficult years ahead. So let me be that person who's going to be able to do that for you. And inshallah, I will bring the people from hardship into ease, inshallah. And it shows, like, the hikmah of Yusuf alayhi salam, and also the love that he had for helping others. All right. And this is like, obviously, if we keep it in the back of our minds that this was revealed in the time of the Prophet ﷺ going through the year of sorrow, and all those difficult things were happening, it's almost like, look, Yusuf alayhi salam, he went through such a hard time through his brothers and his own and the people that he had lived with, right? And they put him in prison for so long, wrongly as well. But even after that, he showed them ihsan and wanted only good for them. Subhanallah. So you, Ya Rasulullah, although they are being so harsh to you, they are pelting stones at you, they are insulting you and telling you that they're going to kick you out or kill you, know that Yusuf alayhi salam went through difficulties, but he also had that love for his people, that want for their guidance. Okay. وَجَاءَ إِخْوَةُ يُوسُفَ فَدَخَلُوا عَلَيْهِ فَعَرَفَهُ عَرَفَهُم وَهُمْ لَهُ مُنْكِرُونَ. So we fast forward to a situation where now 7 years have gone past, where they have harvested quite easily, and now we're in that 7 years where there is drought. And the drought, it happens all over Egypt, and it happens all over Sham as well, the Levant, where Yaqub alayhi salam and his family live. So the family of Yaqub, so his children, his aka Yusuf's half brothers, they come to the king, aka to the treasurer, aka to Yusuf, in order to sort of get universal credit, if you like, right? And get some relief from the hardship that they're in. So he recognizes them, they don't recognize him, and a lot of things ensue. And so what he does is he packs all of their things for them in their bags, and he makes sure those bags that they have packed full of like wheat and corn and rice and all these other sort of necessities that they need to survive. He makes sure that he packs them all up, and he sends his own personal aides to carry the bags for his brothers and put them on their riding beasts, their camels and their horses. And he's showing them such ihsan, even though these are the very same brothers that years ago chucked him in the well, subhanallah, which shows that when you want to kill off envy and jealousy of a person that has that towards you in terms of animosity, then show goodness towards him. Show goodness towards them. Their goodness, that will inshallah take away that envy and at least take it out of your heart, inshallah. So he does all of that stuff, and he also, so they still have to pay for all of this stuff. This stuff doesn't come for free. So they paid for the rice and the corn and the wheat and so on and so forth that Yusuf alayhi salam had given them. But Yusuf alayhi salam, he told his aides to put this money back in their bags and conceal it so that they don't see it, but when they get home, inshallah, they'll find it. So when they got home to Yaqub, they found this money that they had given to Yusuf in their bags, and they were like, subhanallah, what a generous guy. And the reason why Yusuf did that is so that they would return to him, inshallah, again, right? He had, when he was speaking to them, asked them about his brother, right? So they're like, okay, who are you guys? They're like, okay, we're from this place. Who's your father? Yaqub. Okay, cool. Do you have any other brothers, any other siblings? Like, yeah, we have another one, but he's a half brother and so on and so forth. So why haven't you brought him? And they're like, oh, okay, well, we didn't think to bring him, yada, yada, yada. But okay, next time you do come, bring him with you, right? And so he put this stuff in there so that they will come back and they will bring him with him. And he said to them that if you don't come back with your brother, then I won't give you anything. So you have to come back with him. So now they've got to go home now, and they've got to convince their father to part with another one of their half brothers. The previous one, they had done whatever they had done with him, right? And Yaqub alayhi salam, he knows in his heart of hearts that these guys are naughty people and they have done some very, very bad things with their brother. So how on earth is he going to allow his other son to go with them, lest something happen to them? Okay. Where are we? Okay, I've gone ahead. Okay, so after back and forth with Yaqub alayhi salam, Yaqub alayhi salam, he agrees to send them with him, and so they go with Benjamin to Egypt, and he tells them to go through abwab mutafarriqa, through different gates. And the reason why that is because he feared that people now know that these guys are close to the new Al-Aziz, right? The new treasury minister. And if people get to know that, all of them have come back together and they're going to have order the corn and order the wheat again, because remember, they're going through a drought right now. So everybody knows kind of what everybody else is taking. So if these guys are going to go away with the food, then, oh my God, like everyone's going to look at them and be like, oh, here they are, they're back again, and so on and so forth. So they don't want to unnecessary hardship. But Yaqub alayhi salam, he knows in his heart of hearts that nothing can happen except which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wills. So he says, what does he say? وَمَا أُغْنِي عَنْكُم مِّنَ اللَّهِ مِنْ شَيْءٍ. But whatever I advise you with, whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants, other than that, that's what's going to happen. And so that obviously that didn't aid them in one bit. وَلَمَّا دَخَلُوا عَلَى يُوسُفَ آوَى إِلَيْهِ أَخَاهُ قَالَ إِنِّي أَنَا أَخُوكَ فَلَا تَبْتَئِسْ بِمَا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ. So Yusuf alayhi salam, when they come back, Yusuf alayhi salam manages to find some alone time with Benjamin, right? And it said that they all slept in their rooms 2 by 2, which means that Benjamin was the odd one out because he was the 11th. So Yusuf alayhi salam, he took him into his own confidence. So when they were alone together, he was like, guess who I am? I'm your brother Yusuf. And they started crying and they were hugging each other. And he was like, look, don't be sad, don't be upset. I'm still alive. I'm here. I'm live and kicking. Let's do this. So then the next day, they did the same thing that happened before, gave them all their bags of wheat and corn and so on and so forth to go off with. But this time around, it was put in their bags a siqaya, which is like a cup, a silver cup, right? It wasn't of any like great value or anything like that, but it was something that that shouldn't be taken. So it was taken, and they went on their way. ثم أذن مؤذن أيتها العير إنكم لسارقون. And then it was called that أيها العير, oh you caravan. So there was not just the brothers, but it was a group of people that were going back towards Sham, towards the Levant, that you guys have stolen something. So they were like, no, we haven't stolen anything. We don't know that we've stolen anything. Of course that we didn't come to cause any trouble. We just came to get our stuff and be on our way. So it was asked of them, what should be the recompense of the person who is found to have stolen something? They said, whatever the rule of law is, that's what his recompense should be. And the recompense was that whoever is found to have stolen something, they go in bondship and in slavery for the person that they have stolen from. So here we have the siqaya of Yusuf alayhi salam, stolen by Benjamin. So so it's assumed. So he has to go into bondship with Yusuf alayhi salam. So Yusuf alayhi salam now has Benjamin in his in his presence and under his control, and the brothers have to go back to Yaqub alayhi salam yet again without another brother. So they go and plead with Yusuf, and they're like, no, our father's an old man, and if something happens to him, then he's going to be like really, really upset. So they go back and they're like, you know what, we can't face our father until we find some way of alleviating ourselves from this plight that we're in. But they end up going back, and it said that some of them go back and others stay in Egypt because they are too embarrassed to see their father. But in any case, they go back and they tell him what happened, and they're telling the truth this time. They're like, wallahi, man, it wasn't us. The king kept him. He stole something. It wasn't us, wallahi. And even still, Yaqub doesn't believe them, and he's like, no, this can't be. وتولى عنهم وقال يا أسف على يوسف وابيضت عيناه من الحزن فهو كظيم. And when this happens to Benjamin, he remembers Yusuf, right? So he says, Ya asafa ala Yusuf. I miss Yusuf so much. And he began to cry, and he cried so hard that his white وابيضت عيناه, that his eyes went white from his sorrow. And that's like saying that he went blind, or it could mean that he just cried so profusely that his eyes were so swelled up that it was impossible to see the black from the white of his eyes. And when he said that, he's like, Tallahi tafta'u tadhkuru Yusuf. Again, you're mentioning Yusuf. We're talking about Benjamin here, and you're talking about Yusuf. Wallahi, like, we can't get rid of this Yusuf guy. We chuck him down a well, we sell him in slavery, and he's still being mentioned by our father. What the hell? So anyway, so he sends them on their way. He goes, look, you know what? Don't talk to me. I don't want to see you guys. Go and find Yusuf and his brother, right? Not even go and get Benjamin back. Go and find Yusuf and his brother. And they've already told their father, right, that Yusuf is dead. Right? He's been eaten by a wolf. So Yaqub alayhi salam, he knows that these guys haven't been telling the truth for all these years. Go and find this guy. So they go. And they go back to Egypt again. So they've been back and forth in Egypt, back and forth in Egypt, back and forth in Egypt. So they go back again. And they go to Yusuf alayhi salam. And they're like, we're in real hardship, and please. And they ask him, أوفِ لنا الكيل وتصدق علينا إن الله يجزي المتصدقين. They don't actually ask him for Benjamin in what they're talking about. They ask him for the corn and the wheat and the rice. Fill our bags up, please. Right? They don't actually ask for the brother. But it could mean that وتصدق علينا, and be charitable towards us, meaning that, look, fill our bags up, but also give us extra, our brother. قال هل علمتم ما فعلتم بيوسف وأخيه إذ أنتم جاهلون. Do you remember what you did to your brother Yusuf? And do you remember what you've done to his other brother? And you guys are from the ignorant and the heedless. And they're like, Anta Yusuf? Sorry, Innaka Yusuf? Like, is it you, Yusuf? No way. قال أنا يوسف وهذا أخي. Yes, I am Yusuf, and this is my brother. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given me. And he said this, he reminded his brothers of this, not like out of spite, like, oh, do you remember what you did to me, yeah? Do you remember what you did to your brother, yeah? Not like that. It was like, look, have you guys sought Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's forgiveness for what you've done? Like, this is the perfect time to do it, because look, we're okay, and nothing bad happened. So you don't have to feel guilty and that Allah is never going to forgive you because you've killed someone, or you've sold them in slavery unjustly or whatever. Rather, look, we're both here and we're both fine. Right? This is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's bounty over us. So seek refuge with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Again, Yusuf's ability to rise up from the jealousy and the envy of his own brothers, man, amazing. And so they recognize what's happened. And then they go back and they go back with the shirt that Yusuf alayhi salam was wearing, and he says, throw that onto my father, and he will be fine. And so they go back with the shirt, and when they go back and they meet their father immediately recognizes that, no, you guys have come with Yusuf. It's like, I can feel Yusuf in your presence. Subhanallah. Right? Lawla an tufannidun. If only you didn't think that I was suffering from old age. And tufannidun from the word fanada. So fanada, in your old age, when you start to forget things, and you become really weak and ill, and you don't remember people's names, and you don't remember things that happened, and so on and so forth. So they treated their father like that. Or you're just a person who just forgets things and stuff like that. So it's like, you guys treat me like this, but I know that I can sense Yusuf. So they say, قالوا تالله إنك لفي ضلالك القديم. You are in the same misguidance that you were in before, right? Subhanallah. So they came back, and they came with their mother and their father, and all of their brothers, and all of the family was reunited back in Egypt, and they all prostrated to Yusuf. And Yusuf then told his father, look, this, ya abati, my father, this is the meaning of the dream that I saw all of those years ago. Ajib, man. What an amazing story, man. وَرَفَعَ أَبَوَيْهِ عَلَى الْعَرْشِ, and he raised his parents upon the throne out of respect for them. And he made a dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, thanking him for what he has given him and for helping him to overcome what shaitan had put as a barrier between him and his brothers. رب قد آتيتني من الملك وعلمتني من تأويل الأحاديث فاطر السماوات والأرض أنت ولي في الدنيا والآخرة توفني مسلما وألحقني بالصالحين. Allow me to pass away as a Muslim and join on to those who are pious. ذلك من أنباء الغيب نوحيه إليك. And that's the end of the story. And then for the rest of the surah, which is only about 10 ayat, we go back to speaking to the Prophet ﷺ. These are the stories, these are the events that took place in the life of Yusuf ﷺ that we are revealing to you, O Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. وَمَا كُنْتَ لَدَيْهِمْ إِذْ أَجْمَعُوا أَمْرَهُمْ وَهُمْ يَمْكُرُونَ. And you were not there to witness all of this stuff, but we are telling you this in truth. And then he goes on to finish the surah. لَقَدْ كَانَ فِي قَصَصِهِمْ عِبْرَةٌ لِأُولِي الْأَلْبَابِ مَا كَانَ حَدِيثًا يُفْتَرَى وَلَكِنْ تَصْدِيقَ الَّذِي بَيْنَ يَدَيْهِ. Right? This these are stories that are told in truth so that people can take lessons from them. مَا كَانَ حَدِيثًا يُفْتَرَى. This is not something that has been made up. وَلَكِنْ تَصْدِيقَ الَّذِي بَيْنَ يَدَيْهِ. But it is confirming and affirming what the Prophet ﷺ has come with. So it's almost like this story is a consolation to the Prophet ﷺ in order to rest his heart with regards to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent him with in terms of his truthfulness. And that ends that particular surah. MashaAllah. So what a story that is. And it's really amazing because it's firstly, it's really entertaining. And we can all follow it from beginning to end, and it's not difficult at all. There are so many things within that story that are worth mentioning. Like there are 3 types of Kaede, right? There are 3 plots and plans that the people make. The brothers of Yusuf with his brother, right? فَيَكِيدُ لَكَ كَيْدًا. The wife of Aziz, right? إِنَّ كَيْدَ كُنَّ عَظِيمٌ. And the Kaede of Yusuf alayhi salam with his brothers with regards to Benjamin and keeping them all together, right? كَذَلِكَ كِدْنَا لِيُوسُف. So these 3 types of Kaede, what brings them all together and what unifies them all is that they were all done out of love. Yeah. So the brothers' plots and plans were because they wanted the love of their father, but that love is misplaced, right? The love is misplaced. The wife of Aziz, she made those plots and plans with Yusuf because she loved Yusuf, but again, that love was misplaced. And Yusuf alayhi salam, he did what he did and planned what he did with Benjamin and the whole the silver cup because he loved his family, and that love, subhanallah, was in the right place. There are 3 types of qamis as well. So the qamis, the first qamis is the qamis, the shirt that is bloodied, that is given to the Yaqub alayhi salam. That qamis, that shirt is a lie. The second qamis is the qamis of Yusuf alayhi salam with the wife of Aziz, where she rips it, right? And she tries to make out that he came on to her. So that qamis was also a lie. But then in the end, it was in truth for Yusuf alayhi salam. The third qamis is the qamis that Yusuf alayhi salam, he gives to his brothers to give to his father so that he will recognize that Yusuf is alive and he'll get his sight back. That is if he is blind. And that is the qamis that was shifa and rahmah for his father, subhanallah. So, and there's millions of other things that are worth mentioning, but obviously time, we can't go into any of them, unfortunately. But inshallah, perhaps another time, we will be able to go through them. Let's take a breather, inshallah, and let's see what's going on in the comment section. What's happening out there in the world of Zoom and YouTube. Okay, yeah, so the question was posed. Who were the 2 other children that were able to speak in their cradle? So we've got Isa alayhi salam as one of the answers, AA. Isa, Isba as well has got the right answer, Isa, but doesn't know the third. So we've got 1 so far. Gulid has said Isa alayhi salam and Jurayj. Bravo alayk, mashallah, well done. So it is, of course, Isa alayhi salam and Jurayj. Correction, I can tell Isa alayhi salam. Are you correcting yourself from the right answer? You answered correctly. Why are you There's no correction, subhanallah. Okay, so Jurayj, for those of you who don't know, he was a pious man from Bani Israel. The people from Bani Israel were very jealous of his devotion to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so they wanted to make him fall into zina. And sort of a backdrop to the story is that he would pray a lot and his mother would call him and he wouldn't respond to his mother, but he would respond to the call of Allah, which is to pray to Allah. So every time his mother called him, he would pray and he wouldn't respond to his mother until later. And so she did that 3 times. She called out, Ya Jurayj, and he didn't respond. Ya Jurayj, he didn't respond. Ya Jurayj, he didn't respond. So she made dua against him that he would see his demise before he passes away. And so the Bani Israel, they got a prostitute to go to his house and to try to convince him to sleep with her. But he refused because he had taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so she ended up sleeping with a shepherd, and she had a baby. And she exclaimed that this baby was actually belonging to Jurayj. So all of Bani Israel went to the house of Jurayj and they started to beat him and drag him through the street and rip his clothing off and so on, and really humiliate him. And when he was like, what the hell is wrong with you guys? What are you doing? They said, you've committed zina with this woman and this is your child. So he poked the baby and said, who is your father? And the baby spoke and said, the father is the farmer or the shepherd. So that's the story of Jurayj. All right, let's have a look at some questions. Did the revelation, Assalamu alaikum, so Sabi is asking, Assalamu alaikum, Imam Sahib Sabi here, sad times, my question got missed yesterday, but as this is Surah Yusuf, it was only befitting for me. Left it on a cliffhanger, so now onto my questions, mashallah. I love the prelude. Did revelation come to Surah Yusuf via Jibreel or in some other form? I think it was via Jibreel, but I'm not 100% sure on the answer to that, so I'll have to get back to you. Was Yusuf alayhi salam a prophet and a messenger, or was he only a prophet following the Sharia of Yaqub? He was a prophet, so he wasn't a messenger. So there's a difference between a Nabi and a Rasul. And there's a lot of debate as to what those differences are. One of them is that a Nabi doesn't have a new Sharia, he doesn't have any new rules that he comes with, whereas a Rasul, he's coming with new laws from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Another difference is that a Rasul comes with a warning to his people that if you don't do such and such, bad things are going to happen to you. Whereas a Nabi doesn't come with any warning, he just comes with guidance and revelation. Question 3, if he wasn't a messenger bringing a new Sharia, does that mean Jibreel alayhi salam only came down to messengers and not prophets? No, Jibreel can come down to prophets and messengers. Angels can also come to others too, and it doesn't have to necessarily be a prophet. So they can come down to others without having prophethood or messengership given to them. Okay, Moeen is asking, do the dreams of normal people today have meanings? Of course they do, absolutely. The Prophet ﷺ, he said that there are many strands of nubuwah, right? So prophethood and revelation, there are many strands. The Prophet ﷺ used to receive revelation through dreams, used to receive revelation through wakefulness, he used to receive revelation through many different ways. And that's actually the first hadith of Imam Bukhari in his Sahih. But he said that the last remaining form of this is ru'yatun salihah يراها أو رؤية صالحة يراها في المنام أو يرى له رجل صالح أو يراها له رجل صالح. That a righteous dream that one sees, for a good dream that one sees in his own dream, or a righteous man sees for him and tells him about it. So they do mean something even today. Can we pay fortune tellers to interpret dreams? Absolutely not. That's haram, that's shirk, and that's kufr, and that shouldn't be done whatsoever. There are many girls at university and at work who keep staring at me and asking me for marriage proposals. MashaAllah is what I can say. I fear sometimes there is only a matter of time I may get forced upon. Is there any du'as and surahs I could read to keep my taqwa strong like Yusuf alayhi salam and avoid the situation? So firstly, avoid the situation. That's the first and foremost thing. Before any du'as, before you get put in that position, be like, Ya Allah. Yusuf alayhi salam was just that one guy, yeah? So keep yourself away from those situations. Keep yourself in good company, those people who are going to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala a lot and remind you of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that way you'll stay out of those situations. Don't be alone in any situation with another woman at all. This is called khalwa, and this is haram in the Sharia. Avoid those sorts of situations, and plenty of adhkar, and remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that he is ever watchful over you. وَهُوَ السَّمِيعُ الْعَلِيمُ. In Surah Yusuf, verse 11, قالوا يا أبانا ما لك لا تأمنا يا تأمور. MashaAllah, loving the transliteration, man. There is a symbol in the Mus'haf. Does this change the pronunciation, and how has it been preserved? Let's have a look. Okay, I'll have a look at it inshallah later. I'll find it and I'll answer that inshallah. Okay, Tamur is also asking, does zakat need to go into the hands of the needy people on zakat due date, or can it be given to a charity or masjid on that date and they give when they want? Does zakat need to go into the hands of the needy people on the zakat due date? No. So the zakat only needs to be paid عندما يحول الحول. إذا حال عليك الحول. So whenever your year comes around, so say for example your year end is Ramadan. Whenever Ramadan comes around, that's when you have to pay. Whether that payment of zakat is then handed over and given to the poor straight away or after some time, that's not your responsibility, inshallah. So the charity can do with it, inshallah, and give it out when they see it's necessary to, inshallah. But your obligation is to give it at that time, inshallah. Moeen is asking, can we follow the Sharia of previous prophets like Yusuf alayhi salam, or does the Qur'an and Sunnah override this if there are differences? So Shar'u man qablana, that is a principle in usul. The Sharia of the previous prophets is the same Sharia that we have in the vast majority of cases. Only those types of Sharia that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned in the Qur'an, or the Prophet has mentioned in the Sunnah, that is no longer or that has now been abrogated by something else in the Sharia of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Those are the only types of Sharia that we cannot follow from those who came before us, but everything else is perfectly permissible, inshallah. When reading Qur'an after Fajr and before sunrise or between Asr and Maghrib, do we still do the Sajda Tilawat, or do we delay after the makruh time has passed? Oh yeah, so the closer it gets, the more the karaha, the more the makruh aspect is there. So it's better to sort of delay it and do it later on, inshallah. That's probably better. Someone asked as well the other day about why these particular times before Asr, before Maghrib and after Fajr are or before Fajr are the most beloved times to make dua and so on and so forth. Now, one of the reasons is because turfa'u fihi al-a'mal. That's the time when the angels, they change their shifts, right? So the angels that were recording your deeds and or with you in the night, they go up to take your deeds to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and new angels come down and take their place for the day. So your actions, they rise. So if you're making dua or you're doing istighfar at that time, that dua is risen with those angels as they rise. So I remember that for you guys, mashallah. Okay. When reading the Quran, oh yeah, so I've answered that question. What is the English biblical name for Jurayj? I don't know, unfortunately. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa alaikum salam. Does burping with little foods break your fast? But is in when you burp and you feel like a food coming out? No, it doesn't break your fast. Your fast is considered makruh, so it's mustahab to redo it. That's only if it's like if it's quite a lot. If it's like a burp and you feel like the acidic feeling of stomach acids coming out and stuff, and a bit of a nasty feeling. But if you do feel that, then that doesn't break your fast. But it's only if there is physical food, like you actually feel it, or like you feel like you're going to sick out, but then you end up swallowing again. It happens. I know, it's not really nice to hear that sort of stuff, but it happens in those sorts of situations. In the first instance, if it's just your stomach acids and stuff, and you can feel it at the tip of your throat, the end of your throat, then that doesn't break your fast in its entirety. But if it's the literal foodstuffs that you can feel, then that renders your fast makruh, because you're not actually intaking food; it's rather coming out and going back in. So it makes your fast makruh. So it's mustahab to it's encouraged and liked to redo that fast. But if you don't, it doesn't mean that your fast is invalid. Okay, Rabia is asking, was there another child who spoke, the child who told his mother not to be scared when she had to jump into the pit of the fire? Subhanallah. Four. I went by a narration though of the Prophet ﷺ who said 3 who spoke in the presence in their cradles. So that was the hadith that I was going for. It may be a 4th, and you may be right there. Subhanallah. So congratulations to Rabia. Okay, Yusuf, verse 40, judgment ruling is only for Allah. Did Prophet Yusuf follow other than Allah's rulings when working for the king? In al-hukmu illa lillah. I think that was Yaqub who said that with regards to okay, no, I may be wrong there. Verse number 40. Let's have a look at that quickly. In al-hukmu illa lillah. Yeah. Did Prophet Yusuf follow other than Allah's rulings when working for the king? No, not at all. He was in charge of the money, isn't it? So he was making sure that money was spent in what was halal and what was done in the right way, and that was profitable also and beneficial for all of his kingdom, and which saved them from economic crises as well. So no, he wasn't following a rule other than the rule of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He wasn't on the same deen as them, right? So he followed his own religion, which was the religion that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed to him. And so he differed with them on that, but he would advise them and he would admonish them and he would speak to them about that. And it's going to come up in the story of Musa alayhi salam, that there are some sort of bits in that story that sort of talk about Yusuf alayhi salam in the previous nations and so on and so forth. So, that'll come, inshallah. That'll come. No spoilers. If I'm working but not married yet, do I have to pay zakat? Yeah, zakat doesn't have any bearing on whether you're married or not. And almost, may Allah find me a righteous. And also may Allah find me a righteous spouse. Ameen, ameen. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant all of those who aren't married righteous and pious spouses, and whoever is married, may they see the righteousness and piety in their own spouses. Ameen. Let's have a look on YouTube. All brothers of Hazrat Yusuf was his stepbrothers. From Kashmir, mashallah, all the way from Kashmir. Assalamu alaikum from Kashmir. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala assist all of our brothers and sisters there and alleviate them from their plight. Ameen. No, not all of his brothers were half brothers. One of them obviously was from both his mother and his father. Aki Marshall, Isa alayhi salam, and Asiya, wife of the Pharaoh, hairdresser's baby. Oh, so more babies are coming up. I have to look this up, guys. Mashallah. I don't know if that's correct though. And the baby of Asiya, hairdresser. Yeah, Aki Marshall was correcting himself. Okay, good. Perhaps, yeah. So there's more than three. So, Ayman, if you live in an area where the adhan has gone, but you tune into another mosque to hear the adhan, should you wait for the mosque adhan to go? I'm going to leave that question because I think we covered quite a lot of that stuff yesterday. So I'm cautious. I am. Oh, mashallah. Rabbi is Timur, mashallah, mashallah. So it's good to have you both here, mashallah, together. Alhamdulillah. Oh, there's some more questions here. Okay, so I'm a bit concerned with the time, and my comms team is communicating in my earpiece that to wrap things up, inshallah. So I think whatever's left of the questions, I'll make a note of them, inshallah, and we'll try and to cover them. If we don't cover them in a separate question and answer session, then we'll cover them throughout our sort of synopsis, inshallah. I recognize that we haven't gone through Surah Al-Ra'd or Ibrahim, but we will go through that tomorrow, bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. So Jazakumullah khair for spending your time here with me, and I hope you have benefited, inshallah, from all that has been said. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us tawfiq to understand his book and to grant us a greater connection with it, and hopefully it comes on the day of judgment as a intercessor on all of our behalves, inshallah ta'ala. Ameen, ameen. And please, inshallah, in the remaining moments, remember a brother called Hamid in your du'as as well, inshallah ta'ala. And I very much look forward to seeing you all here tomorrow. Jazakumullah khaira. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.